It's time for Chris's Comics Corner. Chris's Comics Corner. So, Chris, what classic comic books are you going to look at today?
Thank you, Prof. Prof, sometimes the Chris's Comics Corner segment is the hardest part of the podcast for me because when I do it, I always have a hard time trying to decide what book to cover. I know I should be covering some old Spider-Man comics because I know Mac Rocks loves those, but I also know that other podcasts cover them. So I was chatting with Robin, the mascot of our show, of this podcast this past week, and she saw a documentary about the purported rumor that Paul McCartney of the Beatles was dead, which kind of circulated around the late 1960s to the early 70s. So, Prof, with that in mind, what if I gave you a book unwittingly inspired by the mascot of our show, Robin, the Girl Wonder? And what if I gave you a comic book that used this, quote, Paul is dead rumor as an idea for a comic book story? So today I give you Batman number 222, which was cover dated June 1970 and cover priced at 15 cents. For the cover, we have great artwork done by the legendary late Neal Adams, and it depicts four Beatles-esque looking musicians carrying instruments and walking single file away from a grave and a tombstone that reads R.I.P. on the right side of the cover in the background. And in the foreground, on the left side of the cover, we have Batman and Robin, and they are watching the group approach, with Batman saying, "Here they come. One of them is dead. But which one?" And Robin saying, "The clue is on their album cover," with Robin holding an album with a cover depicting four musicians, with one of them with his back turned, a nod to the back cover of the Beatles' Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. A couple of notes. The Batman logo is huge, and it takes up probably the top third of the whole entire cover. I'd say one of the four musicians on the cover slightly resembles George. The musician walking in front seems to be kind of like an amalgam Beatle because he's wearing John Lennon glasses, has a nose like Ringo Starr, and he's walking barefoot like Paul McCartney did on the cover of Abbey Road. The words on the album cover that Robin is holding is "Dead Till Proven Alive," which is the title of our story. The story Dead Till Proven Alive, writer Frank Robbins, art Irv Novick on pencils, and Dick Giordano on inks. And our story goes as follows. Dick Grayson is at Hudson University with his buddies listening to the radio, hearing a DJ's reports and rumor and speculation that Saul Cartwright, a member of the popular rock group called the Oliver Twists, is dead and has been replaced with an imposter. Adding more fuel to this, the DJ plays a track at a different speed, and the audio says, "Sure was a ball, Saul. Too bad it's all over." The DJ says the Twists will be doing a concert in nearby Gotham City. Intrigued by the mystery, Dick wants to find out for himself if Saul really is dead, so he goes to Gotham City. It turns out Bruce Wayne is intrigued too, and as a major shareholder of the group's record label, he arranges the group, nicknamed the Orphans, get it, to stay at stately Wayne Manor while they're in town. Dick wastes no time playing detective. He puts a hidden microphone in a chandelier to record Saul's voice and to compare it to Saul's voice on a record in the Batcave. Bruce meets Dick there, and Bruce tells him that the voice prints won't match with a speaking voice and a singing voice. Strike one. At dinner, Bruce and Dick notice Saul carries a large tape recorder with him. Saul says he carries the device with him at all times for inspiration, might come at any time, and he uses it for writing or for singing a song. So, later that night, Dick puts on his Robin costume and sneaks into Saul's bedroom to snatch the recorder for a voice print and wants to return it before Saul wakes up. Just as Robin leaves Saul's room, he's knocked out from behind and the tape recorder is snatched. Was the unseen attacker Saul? ? Bruce hears the commotion and takes the unconscious Robin, the boy wonder, to the Batcave before any of the others wake up to investigate. Strike two. The next day, none of the group says anything about the previous night's events, and Bruce's next plan is to stage a birthday party for Alfred and to secretly record the group, hoping to isolate their voices, but the plan is foiled when the group sings Happy Birthday to Alfred all together. Strike three. But they did capture a voice of someone posing as Saul, setting up a recording session at a Gotham studio where Batman and Robin are ambushed by gunfire when they arrived. So, just who was the fake Saul? Back at Wayne Manor, stately Wayne Manor, home of millionaire Bruce Wayne and his youthful ward, Dick Grayson, Batman and Robin confront the group. Just as Saul is about to make a confession, Glennon, a member of the quartet, pulls out a gun, and he says their secret must be kept safe. Saul swats the gun from his hand with his tape recorder and calls him Chumley. Robin then punches Glennon/Chumley to the ground. Batman asks Saul why he called the band member a different name, and Saul reveals that he's the real Saul, and the rest of his 3 bandmates are actually the phonies. Holy switcheroo. Saul breaks down and cries and says that his 3 bandmates perished in a plane crash in the Himalayas when they went there for enlightenment. Saul recruited 3 lookalikes, and they had minor plastic surgery to perfect their looks and got vocal coaching. Saul planted rumors of his death to draw attention to himself and not the fake bandmates. Chumley, the new member, never knew such fortune in his life, which was why he was going to violent means and lengths to protect the group's secret and financial success. Batman convinces Saul to go public with what happened, and their fans will still like them and their talent. Saul agrees, and during the Gotham City concert, he renames the group Phoenix. Get it? And Dick and his buddies are in attendance, seeing the relabeled group, saying this was the biggest twist, get it, of the century. The end. There are some cool ads in the comic, respected from back in the day. One for Aurora car model kits, a coupon for free admission to Palisades Park and rides on the Space Rocket and the Caterpillar, and one for Hot Wheels cars and the Orange Race tracks. Who remembers those? My thoughts on this issue. It would take a whole podcast to dissect the quote, Paul is dead rumor history, but this story did pick up on a lot of actual beats. The rumors spreading more on radio stations, a hidden message on a song track, the image of a bandmate turned around on an album cover, etc. were all elements of the Paul is dead rumor. So writer Frank Robbins did his homework, and or this shows how much of this rumor was in the public consciousness when the comic book came out. The name Saul Cartwright is an obvious nod to Paul McCartney. Yes, this issue did have some plot pain points. Invasion of privacy, not being able to get a voice print of Saul to match, Chumley not wondering what Robin was doing at Wayne Manor in the middle of the night and not suspecting that he was Dick Grayson. Still, there was a bit of requisite gunplay and some mild peril woven into it. This story did have a clever twist that I didn't see coming. Robbins is a good writer, but I remember him more for his artwork and his darkened inks of his characters. Irv Novick, who did the art for this issue, is one of my favorite Batman artists, and he's probably on my top 5 list of such. He's underrated in my opinion. Also, there was a backup story in this issue entitled The Case of No Consequence, where Batman helps a deaf mugging victim. It should be noted that Marvel Comics also got in on Beatlemania quite some years earlier in Strange Tales issue number 130, where the Beatles had a one-panel cameo in the story with the Human Torch and the Thing. So, for Robin thinking about the Beatles this past week, me loving the rendition of 8 Days a Week that Robin the Girl Wonder does, and the rendition of 8 Days a Week that Two Sleep does, I give you Batman number 222 for today's Chris's Comics Corner. Robin, let me give you a big fat kiss for doing that. Thank you.
All right. So Batman 222 is in today's Chris's Comics Corner. Chris's Comics Corner.